for today's lesson, we are going to revise a little bit on the basic concepts, the concepts of family, okay, and family templates. We are going to talk a little bit more about reference constraints, again on solids, more detailed functions, and on voids as well, on blends, and changing geometry appearance, and how to load, revision on how to load it into the projects. Okay. Now, essentially, we are going to build a pool table, a true 3D pool table. All right, and it's not so important that you are forced to complete the assignment today, but you try to follow as much as possible. The essence of this particular lesson is for you to make sure and learn about the functionality, yeah? More than speed, more than building this pool table itself. Okay, so this is the important bit here. Now, there are a few things that we need to take note when we are building our own custom Revit family. Alright, first of all, the plan. We need to know what we want that particular family to do. So we need to use a suitable family template. Alright, we need to add reference planes to it so that it can help to define the geometric limits as well as the characteristics that we need to make changes to grow, to shrink, etc. And we need to from time to time add parameters and constraints as well. Okay, and then of which we would flex that model, so we would test the machine out to see if everything would work systematically when we change the numbers. Alright, so we are going to start. Last week we talked about how to use the casework family. This week we are going to go through how to use the furniture family, and there are some differences in which we can then highlight to you later on as well. Alright, so if you can follow me on this, start up Revit. Alright, and with this, please go to the big R button, click on New, click on Family, this one. You should by default be taken to here, English I. Again, English I stands for Imperial. We don't want that. We want to move up to English so that we begin to see metric furniture here. If your program is properly installed, you should be able to see this template quite easily. But if it is not, you probably won't see any of this. Doesn't matter because you will be able to see it inside the zip file that we have provided for you. It would be here, this one. You can open up this one, it would have become the same template anyway. Once you have this, you will be inside the Revit family template. In this case, it will be the furniture family. Alright. Okay. So I just need to explain to you or introduce to you the reference planes. This is what we call by reference planes. These things. Okay, if you click here, you will find that they have a name in particular called center left right, called center front back, for example. This name is also exactly the same as this name down here. And it would be pinned down. It will be pinned down by default so that it creates a certain fundamental constraint so that the model, after you build this, it will not be running all over the place when you flex them later on. Alright, you see this, and then you will also see center, front, back. These are the very basic ones. So before we get started with building the physical form, we build the guidelines first. In this case, we will build them in forms of reference planes. How do we do this? We will go to Create. We will click on Reference Plane here. Please be careful. Reference planes are not reference lines, and reference line is just right next to it. So they are very, very close, but they're not similar. So please pay attention to that. Use reference planes only. Sorry? English file empty doesn't matter. It's not properly installed. Then never mind. You use what is inside the zip file. Open up the zip file. There is one file called metric RFT. Open up that file. It is there for sure. Sorry? Yes, metric furniture RFT file. That's the template file. Once you have this, click on this and draw one line here and one line here. Make this dimension 600. Make this dimension 1200, like that. And with this, we want to create a symmetric table. So what we'll do is we will select this reference line, click mirror pick axis. Alright, select first, then select the command mirror pick axis and mirror over here. Select the reference plane, click mirror pick axis and then mirror over. You will see something like this. Okay, once this is done, we want to save it first because at the moment it is a template. We don't save it, computer crashes, we lose all our data. So what's going to happen is we will click on the big R button and do a save as, and then go to save the current family, this part. Save it first, give it a logical name, call it, say pool table will do. Okay, you can just call it pool table. Before you OK this, don't save it first. Before you OK it, click on the options button, and then you will see the number of maximum backups. By default it is 3. We will set it at 1 at the moment, and then we would change the thumbnail preview to 3D view. We want it to be in 3D view because when you are looking through the files later on, you will be able to see that it is actually a 3D view of a family, of a furniture family, okay, a real 3D, and not something that you just draw in 2D and pretend it is a 3D one. All right, that one. And then you click OK, and then you click Save, like that. Okay. Next, we want to set up the machine. We want to set up so that we can flex them, set up the parameters, the parametric qualities of it first. So we are going to do so by adding in a line dimension. The first thing we do is we want to make sure the model, when flexing, does not expand or contract all over the place. We want it to be pinned down or nailed down so that it will only grow or shrink within the same axis here, within this location. We want to lock it down. Okay, so this is what we do. We use the line dimension, select, 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 so it becomes like that. And upon that, we will click equal. You see this equal sign here? Click on that so that the digits, the numerical digits, becomes EQ. We do the same for the vertical parts as well, so that they all become EQ. This way. When done, this function, you just have to remember, having this EQ function is so that when these reference planes expand or contract, they will expand together and contract together, making the model centralized and the location being centralized itself. Alright, next we want to create another dimension here of the overall. This would describe the size of the furniture as an overall here, like that. Now, by default, you should be able to see inside this template here, under View, under Windows. Do you see you should have 4 views here? You should have the plan view, the front elevation, the left elevation, and a 3D view. Okay? You can see all 4 views by keying in WT and keying in ZA. Do you now see you have everything here? You have 4 views. Get into the habit of splitting 4 views and expanding on the one view, yeah? So in this case, I will expand on the plan now, plan view, or I can then split 4 views again and zoom all to see everything, like that. Okay? Once you have this up already, we want to set a basic parameter. Okay, we want to set 2 basic parameters to it first. So we are going to click on Create Family Types here. Click on this, click on this. Okay, that will lead you here. And then you will come to here. Now you see under this name it has nothing because we have not created anything to it yet. So what will happen is we want to create a new type. We create a new type because we can immediately control the qualities, the sizes of, let's say, this pool table. Now we know that pool table, depending on how big how big a space the customer has, they come in a variety of sizes from, let's say, 12 foot to 10 foot, 10, 9, 8, 7, etc. Okay, so in this case, we are going to create one 8-foot table first. We will start by creating an 8-foot table. We will then click on the parameters here to add. So we're going to add one of this and call it length, and OK. And then we'll create another one here called width. And click OK. We now have two types, two parameters here, upon which we will click OK. Then now we can make these dimensions parametric by selecting the dimension and under label change it to length. And then for the vertical one, we will change it to, let's say, width. After this, we will click on family types. You will now see that it now has value. Guys, if I'm moving too fast, you think I'm moving too fast, you got to stop me or slow me down, okay? You need me to rewind, If not, then I'll just keep going on and on because I want to push to finish faster, okay? Bring you up. Once this is done, we are going to key in the proper dimensions of this 8-footer. So what will happen is we will key in 2235 by 1120 to form the 8-foot size table. Then we click apply to see if the machine can move, if the flexing works properly. Okay, there shouldn't be too much problem. Now after this is done, we want to create a smaller size table, which is a 7-footer. So we are going to click on new and change it to 7 foot. And OK. We are then going to change the dimension of the 7 foot to this 1980 by 990, and then we will click apply. Do you see that they now flex properly? Will they change nicely? Bigger or smaller? Alright, like this, and OK. They should flex nicely. Upon this being done, split 4 views, and then I want you to look at the front elevation here, this window. Expand on the front elevation. We are going to set up another reference plane. Okay, draw a reference plane, create a reference plane here. Seven, 8, 7 would be the height, and then create another reference plane below it, and put it as 76, below it by 76 here. Next, I want you to select the upper part of this, the upper reference line. Okay, and under identity data here, give it a logical name. Call it, say, play surface. Alright. Once you do this, this line becomes a little bit different. This line becomes a reference plane that you can select and do work with. Alright, so later I'll explain to you how this whole thing works. You see, the rest that you have just created does not really have any name except for this one particular one that we make a name change to. Alright, for this. Okay, with this, now we are going to draw up. We are going to build the form. So we split back to 4 views again. We are going to create the 3D forms with this. Alright, let's go to plan first for now. And then go to create, go to extrusion. Let me repeat one more time in case I go too fast. Under create, under extrusion here. Last week when you were creating, you will go straight to the drawing mode and start drawing and so on. This week, we want you to get into the habit of creating or setting the work plane. Set the work plane by clicking on this button here, and it will take you here to set a work plane. And I want to bring your attention to this area down here. Knee. Let me explain to you how this whole thing works. At the moment, it says here, the name of the level is reference level. Reference level refers to level 0. Level 0 refers to floor finish level. Here. Imagine I want to do a drawing now. So I take a pen, I take a piece of paper, right? Reference plane, okay, I'm going to do my drawing here. Like that. I'm going to draw like that. In virtual sense. Here. Now, I set this to play surface. Okay, for example, then I will be doing my drawing play surface here. I will be drawing stuff here. Do you understand what I mean? Now, if I set this one line here on plan, and then I call it instructor table left. Okay, I give it another name, right? When I set the reference plane instructor table left, I will be drawing here like that. If I set the reference plane where Janelle is, okay, where Janelle is reference plane, then when I draw, I will be drawing here. Am I making sense? Speaking English, this one. Okay, so that's what it means. Basically, I bring my drawing board to the whatever location. That's all. So therefore, I am going to change. I'm going to model the pool table surface, by the way. So that's why. Okay. At that. So I'm going to change this one to play surface and click OK. With this, we will click on rectangle, and then we will click first point, second point to create the shape. Before we finish off the command, we will activate the constraints to lock it, so that when the system flex, when we flex the model to make it bigger or smaller, etc., it will also grow bigger or grow smaller. That one. Can we understand this? If you do not lock it, when it grows, the size remains the same. So no effect, no use. Alright? So then we click Finish. Here, if we split 4 views now, you will now see that in the 3D model, I changed this one to shaded mode. You will now see a thick chunk down here. In the front elevation, you will now see this here. Remember, this is the play surface reference plane. So it is extruding from ground 0 up, and the default extrusion is 250. So therefore it looks like a thick slab now, a thick 250 slab. We will make changes to it by selecting this model and pulling it down, and you will see that the constraint icon will pop out. We will lock it in place. Okay, with this, we have now created the 3D model of the first pool table surface here. Alright. Next, we will proceed to create the aging of the pool table, the nice aging piece. This one we will use another command. Alright. So let's expand on the plan first. To make our lives easier, what we will do is we will select this and hide it. Alright, if you look at what I'm doing right now, this is a little bit similar to 3D Studio Max, the views. However, in 3D Studio Max, you will find that when you hide an object, the object is hidden away in all 4 views. But in Revit, when you hide away that one object, it is view dependent. That means it only disappears in that particular view. The rest of the 3 views remains visible. This part. Okay. So we are very careful here. What I'm going to do is I will select this geometry here and I will look at this. You see this spectacle icon here? Okay. Temporary hide and isolate. I will select this and I will click hide element. I will hide away this element to free up my scene, so that later on when I constrain, I do not constrain wrongly. But you can see down here, the rest of the 3 views, the object is still visible down here. Alright. Next, I would want to be modeling the table aging now. How do we do this? I will click on create. I will click on blend. In fact, except for extrusion, by the way, which is a 1-step operation. The rest of the 3 commands here are basically 2-step operations here. Okay. What do I mean by this? When you click on blend, you will find that you need to do certain things. You need to edit the base. You need to edit the top. That means you need to go into drawing mode twice. Alright? Sorry, we're not going to go to blend. We are going to go to, can you get out? We are going to go to sweep. We're going to use sweep. Later we will use blend. So we use sweep for now. Okay? So we are going to click on sweep. And then under here we will start with sketch path. Then the second stage we will work on the profile. What do we mean? Essentially, sweep works like that. You create a 3D object and then you create a path where you want it to go, and then it will extrude this item following the 3D object this way, like this, following the path. That's what it does. So we are going to work on this right now, the path. Okay, so under sketch path you go into the drawing mode as well. However, before we start drawing, we want to get into the habit of setting the reference plane first. At that, we will make sure this is the play surface for this one first for now. And we click OK. And then we will draw the rectangle shape like this. Okay, you can do this and then you can eventually offset it. You can eventually offset this by 75 to create this, or you can, in the time of your creation, preset this one nicely first. Preset it to, let's say, 75 for now, and then you start drawing this way. Okay, did you miss by any chance? Okay, there are two ways to create this. You can either preset this or you can change it. Okay, once you have this part out, the first part of the work is completed. So we click finish. Next, we need to work on this part of the job here, which is the profile. Okay, right here we have nothing at the moment. Okay, so we need to load a profile by clicking on here, load profile, and then we can look for the profile here. It is in our lesson exercise files today. It's under rail. Look for this one called rail. And then we click open. Alright, nothing will happen, but if you click on the drop down list here, you will begin to see the profile rail here. Okay, we are going to use this profile, and you will find it here. You will find that this profile now appears here like this. This is the real profile. Let's say we are done with this, and then we are going to click OK, finish the job. So if you look down here, you find that you will now see the table. You will now see the aging of the table. But hey, wait a minute, something seems wrong. Something seems wrong because, first of all, if you look down here, the table is very rectilinear. So in most pool tables there are splays, if not rounding. If it is not rounded, it is at least angular. Okay, and also there is a big gap down here. That's not quite correct. There's something wrong with the modeling. So therefore we need to go inside. We need to select this object here and then click edit sweep. We need to edit the sweep now. We can tweak it by editing it. So let's look at the plan. Okay, we can click on sketch path to amend this by adding in the splay. Select, and then we can mirror it. And then we can use this command here, trim extend to corner, to trim it up properly. Like this. Once we are done with this, we will click finish. That's the first part. Second part, we will look at the profile here. Down here you will see that the reference line is here, the reference plane is here, and then the shape profile is actually here. So therefore we will end up with a big gap in between, like this. Okay, so we need to fix it. How do we fix it? You can either use the move command to move it, or you can use the align command, select the target, select the source, and then it will be to this line. I repeat, select this, select the target line, select the source, then they will come together, and with that we can click complete. And with this we can finish it off. Okay, and if you pay attention now on my screen, and if you look through this, you will now begin to see that the corners have got a chamfer, and there are no more gaps to the table surface now already. The align part, no problem. Let me just show you again this part here. It's actually this. Just now the condition was this. Okay, there is a big gap between the reference line, the reference plane, to the profile. There's a gap. That's why it created a hole. Okay, if I release this gap and I OK this is what is going to happen to the table. That's a big gap like that. So that's not very good, it's a problem. So we are going to fix this by editing the sweep and aligning it. Use the align command, select the align command, select the target, which is this line. The target line is this line. Select the source, which is this line, and then it will align together, and from there we click finish, so it will close up nicely like that. Next, once we are done with this, let's take a look. Now, pool tables, being pool tables, there are always what we call the pocket holes. Okay, in fact there are 6 pocket holes inside here. We are going to use voids to create those pocket holes. Okay, here is what we do. Okay, we expand on the plan view. This time round we are going to hide away this table aging. So we continue to click on hide element. We will continue to click on hide element to clear up the screen, so it's easier to see. And with this, we are going to go to create, under void forms, void extrusion. This one. Okay, once we have this, we will be inside the drawing mode. Again, it is always good practice to click on set reference plane to make sure we are drawing on the correct elevation at least. Thereafter, we are going to draw a circle here. The radius of the circle is 51. Enter. When done, we are going to shift the location of this circle. We are going to do that by selecting the circle first, then issuing the command. We move x-axis by 29 and then the y-axis by minus 29 this way. So it looks like that. And then we are going to put dimensions to it. Notice on my screen, when I mouse over the circumference of this circle, a cross comes out. When this cross comes out, that means I can click on the circle and it will be snapped to the center, and then I just need to select the reference plane and the dimension comes out. I need to lock it. Okay, I don't lock it first, let's say, right? And then I dimension both the x and the y axis here, like this. For a pool table, there are six pocket holes to work on. So I will duplicate the 4 first, selecting the whole lot and mirror pick axis to do this. Okay, and then to mirror again. You see there are some error warnings here. There are some error warnings on some dimensions were not copied because they could not find a reference. Mainly because down this particular dimension, when we mirror over, it doesn't find this line as a reference anymore. Okay, it cannot find this line as a reference anymore. So therefore, this part here, we need to recreate that one. So we will click on align dimension again to recreate it. Like this. We will then select and lock these dimensions to the reference plane. We need to constrain them. If not, when the table sizes shift from bigger to smaller, the holes still remain there, it doesn't move. But in reality, the holes has to move as well because the sizes are different. Okay? And then one more thing to do, we need to create the center pocket holes by making a copy of these holes here. And then we also need to create the constraint for this, but only on the horizontal axis, not the vertical axis. Like that. Once we're done, we will complete this by clicking finish. Then you will be able to see, if you see down here, we begin to see some holes being cut here. But if you look a little bit harder, it seems like the hole is not cut too properly yet. That is because the void form has not fully cut through the table. So what we can do is we can drag this down so that the void form will penetrate and cut right through the pool table. With this now, once you drag it down, we will find that the table has very nice and properly cut up pocket holes already. Let's test it to see everything works properly or not by clicking on family types again, changing it from 8 foot to 7 foot. Do you see that your pocket holes will also grow and shrink according to the different types? If it does, then things are working fine. Alright. Next, we are going to proceed to work on the table legs. So again, we will hide this away. We will hide this element away. To declutter the screen. Now we are going to go to create and add in 2 more or 4 more reference planes here, like this. Each being, this is 150, this is 300, like that. Don't need to lock it, just keep it like that. Reference planes. With this, we add another 2 more reference planes here. Okay, this one is this is 50 from this point here, 50, and then use this and mirror it down, mirror this down, and mirror this across, like that. So it gives us basic footprint to create the table legs here, like that. Am I going too fast? Okay, yeah, very good. Next, we will create blend. This one. Blend essentially works by creating 2 profiles, and then given a particular distance, it will then connect these 2 profiles from one shape to another shape to create the form. Alright, that's how it works. So we are going to now build the form. click on blend. We will start by creating the base. Alright, we will start by creating the base. So we are going to click on, before we draw, we will click on set reference planes. We are going to set the reference plane to reference level because we are working on the base. So therefore, like this. Okay, and then we will click OK. So let's have an offset before we draw a rectangle. We're going to use rectangle offset, let's say 50, and then we are going to create from the bottom right to the upper left. It doesn't really matter. Okay, or we can go top right, top left to the bottom right. Okay, by doing this, we are outside the boundary now. If you look at this, I don't want it to be outside the boundary of this. I want it to be offset on the inside. So how do we do this? We can alternate it by pressing the space bar. Okay, so we will alternate it so that it will be inside like that. Once we are done with this, we have created the base already. So right now, we are going to click on Edit Top. So we are going to work on the upper profile. Same thing, we are going to click on Rectangle command again. Except this time round, we don't want to offset. We will set the offset to 0. We will then set the radius, however, we want to round the corners a little bit. So we will set the corner radius to 50. And then we will draw the profile like this. Notice it ends up looking like this. A rounded corner. And with this, we can finish the job. We can complete this. Let's take a look at it in 3D. We will now see this little plinth. It is like that because we have not set the default height higher than 250. Doesn't matter, we don't need to, because we can now drag and lock like that. Okay, drag and then relock it again. So we form the first part of the leg, the first leg. We will then use the mirror command and mirror it to create the second leg itself, like that, this way. Okay, once you see this, there you go. we have created the pool table. Can?